This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Okay, we've got an update on the tragic death of the chief engineer on board Yacht Baton Rouge in Antigua, which we reported on in the last video. Now, firstly, we want to make a correction. The chief engineer's name was Roy Temme. We want to apologize for the mistake we made on his name. This was taken from early reports from news outlets and it was mistakenly spelled incorrectly. Mr. Temme is survived by his wife and 2 children. Now, Burgess Yachts, who managed the vessel, gave us some information on the accident. The power outage that we reported on the previous video actually occurred the day prior to the accident. So on Thursday, the 22nd of February at 20:58 hours local time, Baton Rouge experienced a blackout and functionality was restored immediately. But as a result, a damper was identified to be no longer working and maintenance was scheduled for the following day. Now, we're assuming this to be a fire damper. We'll come back to that shortly. So the following morning on Friday the 23rd of February at 07:30 hours local time, the chief engineer entered the technical space to work on the damper, and shortly thereafter he was found unresponsive. Medics were called and performed CPR. However, at 10:19, the engineer was pronounced dead after being transferred to a local hospital. Burgess spokesperson sent us a statement and they said the next of kin has been notified and we are working with the authorities to ascertain further details. Burgess is providing guidance and counsel to the crew on board Baton Rouge, and we ask at this time that you respect their privacy. Our deepest thoughts go out to family, friends and colleagues. Now, after our first video, we had quite a few messages via email and the comments section about Mr. Temme, and we thought we'd read a few as it speaks to his popularity. YouTube comments said, "A good friend to many, a dedicated husband and father, and one of the best engineers I have had the privilege to have known for 31 years. Some comments from emails said he was a fantastic person, a brilliant engineer. He was technical manager for a large fleet and worked as a consultant to a management company before returning to life on board." Another comment said, "Regarding your video on the fatality on board Baton Rouge, as a friend of and roommate with Roy back at Warsash, which is a nautical college in the UK, in the early 90s, I would respectfully ask that you correct his name in the video." And another comment said, "He was a friend of mine and an ex-colleague when I worked as an owner's AVIT rep." So a lot of nice things being said. Now, there's a fundraiser that's been set up by a friend of Mr. Temme. It's a GoFundMe type fundraiser. They're aiming to raise £10,000. I think they've already raised over 5,000. I'll post a link in the description if you want to donate to that fundraiser. Now, in the statement, they referred to a damper failing. We're assuming this was an air damper, often referred to on board as a fire damper or a fire flap. A fire damper on a boat or a ship is a crucial safety component, primarily designed to prevent the spread of fire and smoke through a vessel's ventilation system. The damper is installed as part of the vessel's HVAC system and is part of the yacht safety system. It consists of a set of louvers or blades that can be closed tightly, thereby sealing off the duct and air supply. The damper flaps are by default in the open position, but close when either triggered from the engine room or are possibly operated as part of an automated fire system, as seen in the video on screen. Now, the chief would have had a notification of the damper failing from the yacht's management system, and it's at this point the chief entered the space to work on the issue. Now, we'll have to wait for the report to finally know what actually happened. We noticed some speculation in the comments, which is normal, but that some of them were coming to conclusions, which, blaming or not blaming people. We don't know anything right now other than what's been reported, so we can't come to any conclusions on what happened or if anyone was to blame. So please try to withhold any kind of speculation or blame in the comments section. UK investigators have flown out to Antigua after the incident as the yacht flies a red ensign. It's registered in the Isle of Man. Obviously, we'll keep you informed on any updates. All right, we'll move on to our next story now. We have an update on Yacht Fee, which has been detained in London's Canary Wharf for almost 2 years by the UK government. The Russian owner of Yacht Fee took his case to the appeals court in London. The owner had appealed the previous decision from July 2023 judgment that saw his vessel in Canary Wharf, where it's been since March 2022. The yacht's owner argued that the UK was effectively trying to compel him to criticise the Russian government without considering the adverse impact on him or his business at home. In the July decision, the judge said the Secretary of State is entitled to a broad margin of discretion in deciding how the detention power is to be exercised in pursuit of the government's foreign policy aims. The appeals court did criticise Grant Shapps, the then Transport Secretary. Shapps had publicised the action on social media, accusing the owner of having ties to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. He in fact accused the owner of being friends with Putin. In the Tuesday ruling, the justices indicated that this ought not to have been said. The lawyer for the owner had argued that the detention of the 58-metre or 192-foot yacht might have been a publicity stunt for Shapps. The owner's lawyer further argued that the detention amounted to targeting any wealthy Russian national, even if the person has no power or influence or connections and has done nothing to endorse the regime or its policies. A statement from the Ministry for Transport said today's ruling once again validates our decision to detain the fee superyacht. Will continue to act where necessary to crack down on those benefiting from Putin's regime and their illegal war. The UK regulation for the detention states simply any ship owned, managed, chartered or operated by a person connected with Russia can be detained. All right, we'll move on. Now, in our recent video talking about the crisis in the Panama Canal, there seems to be some confusion in the comments on the reason the water level is dropping and how it's related to climate change. The questions seem to come from people who are critical of climate change, saying, if climate change is causing sea levels to rise, how can it also cause the water in the canal to be dropping? Well, as mentioned in the previous video, the canal, which is man-made, sits 85 meters higher than sea level. So on either side of the canal, the ships need to be lowered 85 meters to reach the ocean. Each time this happens, 200 million liters of lake water is used, and not all of that water is recovered, so is lost into the ocean on either side, which causes the water level in the lake to drop. So each time this happens, 200 million liters of lake water is used, and not all of that water is recovered and is lost, causing the lake level to drop slightly. To refill the lake, they rely on rainwater, which comes during the rainy season each year. However, in 2023, as the scientists say, because of climate change, the rain didn't come, so the lake was not replenished. So they had to reduce operations in the canal because of falling water levels. All right, we've got a Yotspot here, very topical. We've got Motor Yacht Fee in London. Motor Yacht Fee's been there actually since November 2021 when she came for an awards ceremony. And then the vessel tried to leave in March and was arrested before she could get out of the lock there, and has been there ever since. She had said to her parents that she was being held on board against her will. She said that she wanted to leave and she'd been told she couldn't leave. Now we've got a new episode of the Yacht Report podcast. It's now live on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, etc. In this episode, we'll answer the question, is there a super yacht blacklist in terms of employment? And we also talk about a crew member who claimed to be held against her will on a cruise ship. Don't forget to check out our Patreon page. You can find it at patreon.com/esysman. You'll find many videos not featured on YouTube, including our Atlantic vlog series and our Patreon chat series. We've put out quite a number of new Patreon chat series videos recently, and behind the scenes footage from our trips to super yacht marinas all over the world. Now, if you've got any information about any of these stories, please be sure to get in touch. You can get us in the email address in the ticker. You can get us on the About page of the YouTube channel. You can get us on Instagram and Facebook Messenger, on Twitter, and on Threema. Be sure to like this video, very important for the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for future notifications. All right, guys, thanks very much, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.